Welcome back, everybody, to the 2-on-1 Fast Break podcast. My name's Sean Kennedy. As always, I'm joined by our NFL handicapper, Dan Erda. Dan, how you feeling this week?
I didn't lose last week, so I'm feeling great.
That's true.
Juice, maybe.
You lost a little big.
A little big.
Second consecutive week, you actually went 500, which is not the best way, but it's better than an 0-5 week.
Oh, it's not acceptable. If I were a team that fans would be calling for the coach's head by now.
You'd be the mid-2000s Andy Reid Eagles.
Yes.
Just pretty good, but not good enough.
Exactly.
All right, but you didn't have many plays last week, and your only full play was a winner for you, and that was the late game on Sunday night, New England, Indianapolis. You liked the over. It was 57.5. Covered, no problem. 42-20 final score. I don't want to say no problem. It's not a huge margin of victory, but kind of had the feeling that was a high-scoring game as everything was going on, huh?
And that's the reason I'm not afraid of high numbers like that when you have two offenses in a game like that. Because my feelings toward that is there's two ways you can win. If they both duke it out and you end up with like a 28-28 game in the fourth quarter, or if one team just goes off and one team can cover 2/3 of it on their own, which New England did.
Right, and then you figure the other team gets some garbage points later.
Absolutely.
They're talented enough offense to just be able to go against that prevent defense and get what they need there. And you also had Jonas Gray over 3.5 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, I got it at plus 9,000.
But the New England game plan going in was clearly to really attack the run defense of the Colts. They brought in that extra lineman for a majority of their snaps, and they were just pounding the ball up the middle, and Indianapolis couldn't do anything to stop them. So not quite the shootout you envisioned, I don't think, going into the week, but it certainly got the points on the board nonetheless.
It's crazy because they did the same thing in the playoffs with LeGarrette Blount. So I think Bill Belichick just likes to say to the Colts, we can beat you with guys that no one else in the NFL even wants on their team.
That's true. He does pride himself on turning over that roster pretty frequently and just saying, hey, we can plug any guy into our system and we'll make him a useful contributor. And I also think that a lot of that has to do with just keeping Andrew Luck on the sidelines as much as possible, which is always a good idea.
Absolutely. And the one thing that the Patriots do so well is they game plan for each team, and they know exactly how to play each team. It's not like Andy Reid, when he used a second Andy Reid callback, back when he was with the Eagles. He had his way of playing football, and he was just going to play that way every single game, no matter who the opponent, no matter anything like that. Bill Belichick will throw the ball 50 times one week, run it 40 the next.
Andy Reid, regardless of who you're going against, you can expect on the goal line a shovel pass attempt,
yes,
and a play action fake to the fullback.
Unfortunately, this is not the last time we will mention Andy Reid in this podcast.
No, it's not. So get ready for that. All right, so that was your one win in Week 11. Your one loss was letting you down for the first time this season. One of your open teaser segments, you teased 10 points down with Denver, who were at minus 9.5. So you just needed them to win. Easy enough, right? Denver's really good. St. Louis, not really good. But wasn't the case as the Rams won 22-7. It was the lowest amount of points Peyton Manning has ever put up as a member of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So what did you see there, and what went wrong for you?
Well, I mean, there were injuries on Denver's side of the ball. They weren't really getting anything going on offense. And you know what? St. Louis has now beaten San Francisco. They've beaten Seattle. They've almost beaten Philly. They've almost beaten Dallas. I mean,
they really should have won their last 3 games. As it is, they've won 2 of the last 3, but they've certainly looked better lately.
But even having said that, it's still a shocking outcome. It was just one of those games. I think Denver's banged up. They were on the road, and it was a bad call. I probably would take it again this week, but good kudos to the Rams. They beat me.
Sorry, everybody. We were experiencing some technical difficulties, but that was a 1-1 week for Dan. Losing that Denver game and winning that over, so he's now 17-23 on the year. We're now going to move into our Outlet Pass segment. We're taking reader questions each and every week as they come in. We've got a really good one this week from Igor Platnik over Twitter. He asked us, what are the best sports betting sites that are out there? and that has to do with being the most reputable, easiest cash transactions, so on and so forth. Dan, I know you've been in this business for a long time. You're the guy to talk to in this area, so why don't you kick things off?
Yes, while I cannot promise winners on a weekly basis, I can promise that I will not lead you astray when talking about the sports betting industry. This is a very good question. This might be my favorite question that we've ever had on the Outlet Pass segment, because it really, even more important than picking winners, is knowing that when you do pick these winners, you're going to get paid out for it. Otherwise, you're in a lose-lose situation where if you lose money, and if you win, you don't see any money. And obviously, that's terrible.
Your expected value on wins should not be 0.
That is not a plus EV movement. So obviously, there's 2 ways that you can bet. You can bet through a local, or you can bet through a website. There's online sportsbooks all over the place. Now, it used to be when you had a local, or a bookie is the old school word for it, you'd have to call them up on the phone, give some crazy password, ask for a line, and make a play that way. He'd write it down in his notebook, and he'd meet up at the end of the week. It's not like that anymore. Most locals actually have their own sites now, where they'll give you a login and a password, and you go into just like you would on any other online sportsbook. The only difference is the site just keeps track of your total. At the end of the week, the local will log in, see what your total is, and then it could square up. I have a local right now. That's what I use. I have a guy who I trust. I know that when I win, he's going to pay me. He knows that when I lose, I'm going to pay him. It's a very good business relationship. He's not some big, jacked mafia guy who I know if I tell him I'm going to be a week late, he's going to give me any crap about it. It's a very good business relationship, and if you can find that, there's definitely some benefits to that, because nothing really beats having cash handed to you. I know this. The downside is everything I just said is highly illegal.
Yeah, it's very shady in terms of, especially the old way going about it. You used to go into a drugstore, you get on a red phone, you do a Western Union wire transfer of your money. It was all just super shady, and in addition to the illegal part, it's hard to find somebody that you can trust to not only be a good person just in general, as far as not being a more criminal element,
exactly,
but also to make sure he's trustworthy in doing the payouts and so forth.
Exactly. And so, I mean, the thing is, like I said, the guy I have right now, we have a very good business relationship. I know I'm getting paid. But if I were to hit a 25-to-1 parlay, who knows? Maybe he would stop answering his phone, and I would never know that. It's a risk you take, but there's also the cash element that makes it a decent option. But there's also online sportsbooks, and I think that's where the question was actually geared towards, which online sportsbooks are the best. Now, there are absolutely scam shops out there. There are sites that pop up, they'll take your money, they'll take your action, and then, win or lose, that site's going to be gone within a couple weeks. They just take their money, they wait a little bit, set up shop somewhere else under the exact same ruse. It's a scam, it's a horrible thing, horrible people do, but you know what, believe it or not, sometimes the gambling business is not only filled with upstanding gentlemen sometimes.
No, it's not the Boy Scouts of America Club. And they say there's a sucker born every minute, and there's plenty of people out there hoping to take advantage of those suckers. And in those situations, really nothing you can do, because you're engaging in what's technically an illegal activity by even making these offshore wagers. So you can't call 911 and say that your money was stolen.
But the thing that you're wrong about is there is something you can do, and that is
not do it in person.
Well, and make sure before you put your money and give your credit card information anywhere that the place is reputable. Now, there are 4 places off the top of my head that I can think of that are very reputable. They each have their perks. First one I'm going to talk about is Bovada, formerly Bodog. It's been around for a long time, and the thing about Bodog and Bovada is they're not afraid to market. You see advertisements for them. They're well known to all kinds of American customers. They do get a lot of suckers that way, but that's how they make a lot of money, and that's how they can pay you out when you win.
You not being the sucker.
Yes. They have poker on their site, which is awesome if you're really a degenerate like me and enjoy multiple facets of gambling.
Nothing better than playing poker while you're watching your bets on the TV.
And the biggest benefit with Bovada is they used to be called Bodog for that reason. They were underdog friendly. The line's 5.5 somewhere, good chance it's 6 at Bovada. That half point is really, really good for people who like to bet on underdogs because in the long run, it can make a difference. Second site I want to talk about is called 5 Dimes. 5dimes.com has been around ever since I got into this hobby / whatever you want to call it. And
Passion.
And I've never heard one person ever not get paid out by them. I've never heard one person say it took them months to pay out. They have all kinds of options. They offer money lines on every game, which is cool. Some people like to do this thing where they bet on the money lines of really, really, really high spread games, like $200 to win $2.
Like Alabama will never lose to Georgia Southern in college football or something.
Exactly.
35-point favorites.
Now, that's not exactly the value move, but it's an option they have. They have live in-game betting, which actually a lot of sports books have now. Live in-game betting is what I believe to be the future of the business. That's one thing locals on their sites often do not have because their software is not advanced enough to have that. But live in-game betting is all the rage right now, and it's going to get even bigger. If you're going to deposit into a site, I would make sure that they have that. It's a really, really good way to find value.
As someone who has built his website from scratch, I can sympathize with the local bookie trying to have to run his own website and not having available software for everything he wants to do.
The last 2 sites I'm going to talk about, the last one's called betonline.com. Betonline.com is very reputable. They have a lot of alliances with a lot of the sports gambling forums out there, and they pay out, and if there's ever an issue, you can always go into the forums and they'll assist you. Someone usually knows someone who works there. Any problems can be worked out that way, which is good because customer service at these places is not always the best. These people have no obligation to you. They could pretty much just say, screw you, we're not paying you at any time, and you're out of luck. But when you know you're going to have good customer service and you know that your questions and your comments are going to be heard, that's a plus. Also, at BetOnline, a lot of these sites that they partner with, if you click the banners there when you sign up, you can get things like free play dollars. You can get things like your initial deposit matched 100% by them. Little perks like that are really beneficial, and if you're going to have money on there for a long time and can go on a run, that can turn into some extra money for you.
I love free plays. This isn't one of the sites you mentioned, but the one I primarily use is OddsMaker, and they always have a Monday night free play, like which NFL guy will get the first down in the game. In baseball season, they have who will hit the first home run in the game in Sunday night baseball, and then the big events like Super Bowl, they have something. World Series, they have something. So.
And of course, the goal is that if you win, you just keep on betting, and eventually you're going to lose it all anyway.
Exactly, that's why they do it. But you know, I'm not a big volume bettor, so every couple weeks I win like a $10, $15 free play. It's a nice little bonus.
The final thing I want to talk about is Bookmaker. Bookmaker has gotten very, very good over the last couple of years, become very popular among sharps. And what Bookmaker is known for is they're usually the first to release lines. For example, college basketball lines will come out the afternoon before the games. Now, sharp bettors will have the site up on their phone or on their computer at 3 o'clock every single day, hitting refresh, 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 just waiting for these openers, waiting to pounce on them. For example, Wichita State opened at 4.5-point favorite yesterday. People pounced by 7 o'clock at night. They were 6-point favorites. They closed as, I believe, 8.5.
I saw it at 8.5 by game time, yeah.
And only people who were on that site ready to pounce got anything close to that kind of number. Obviously, today, if you look at the scoreboard right now, it didn't matter. They won by like 13. But over the course of the year, that's huge. People who are true sharps and people who have their own formulas, who create their own lines, who are waiting on certain lines like that, this is the site for them. Of the 4 sites that I just mentioned, the things they all have in common is they pay you, and they pay you timely. You don't want a site that's going to send you a check and have you receive it in 3 months. You also don't want a check that's going to get in your account, you take it out, and 2 weeks later you get a call from your bank that it bounced. Those 4 sites that I named are just the top 4 that I've heard nothing really all that negative about. There is a website called sportsbookreview.com. If you're thinking of putting money on any site on the internet, make sure you search that site on sportsbookreview.com. It'll tell you if it's a scam. It'll tell you if there's any problems with it. Some might just have one or two little complaints that aren't that big of a deal to you, as long as they say they pay out. Some might have a D- and say avoid at all costs under it. So you want to know that.
It's the Yelp of the sportsbook world.
It is the Yelp of the sportsbook world, exactly. Now,
you wouldn't go to a restaurant without checking the reviews. You shouldn't put money in a sportsbook without checking the reviews.
Absolutely, and it's on you. It's your money. You got to be careful with it. Never deposit anything blindly. Always check Sportsbook Review. And if you want to be safe, go with one of the 4 that I mentioned. Even better, go with multiples. Go with 2 or 3 or even all 4 of the ones I mentioned, because it's always important to line shop, and that's how you line shop. You deposit into different kinds of books. You might see a game where the favorite is 5.5-point favorites on 5 dimes. You could take the underdog for 6.5 points at Bovada. Line shopping is a huge deal. It's a good over the course of a year. It can save you a ton of money, making sure you're on the right side. So that's my advice. Deposit in multiple books, but more important than all that, even if you're just going to be a casual bettor who bets a couple games a week, make sure the book that you do give your money to is a reputable one, so that when you win, you see your winnings.
Yep, that's pretty much what it all boils down to. So really good info, Dan, and great question, Igor. Appreciate that. And
that was a great question. Probably my favorite since we started doing the Outlet Pass segment.
All right, so moving on to our next segment. Now time for Stump the Sharp.
Riley Cooper.
Not right.
Darren Sproles.
Dan, I've got a couple questions for you this week.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this segment.
Yeah. So, there's one team in the NFL that is undefeated against the spread at home this season.
Oh, at home.
At home. Five home games thus far this season. They've yet to lose against the spread. Can you name that team?
My gut says the Jaguars.
Are you counting the London game?
Oh, that's right, the London game.
Technically, that was a home game for them. So, yeah, that might have. And you lost on that game, so that's not
undefeated at home.
Yep.
Against the spread.
Against the spread.
Kansas City Chiefs.
That's not the correct answer. They do have a very good against the spread record, Kansas City, just in general.
Right.
But I'll give you one more guess. I'll give you a little hint. This team has what is pretty much known as a significant home field advantage.
Arizona Cardinals.
It's not the Nest.
It is not the Nest.
No, that is the predominant home field advantage, quote unquote, nowadays. Everybody loves that Cardinal home crowd. Answer is actually a team we saw dominate at home pretty closely last week, and that was the Green Bay Packers.
That's true.
Them at Lambeau this season, they're 4-0-1 against the spread at home. The only one they tied was a push week 2 against the Jets. But we've seen
and honestly, who does cover against the Jets? So
yeah, the Jets are a
Packers.
juggernaut. You give them a pass on that push there. They're lucky to push. But the last 4 home games they've scored at least 28 points in every first half of that game. It's just really dominated at home recently, and obviously covering all these spreads means they're winning by big margins. Actually on the road this week, so not something to look at in week 12, but something to keep your eye on going forward.
That team is so nasty.
Yeah, they're stacked on offense. The defense seems to be figuring some things out, and at home they just take things to a whole another level.
So I wish I had it in me to bet against my home team, because there was no doubt in my mind that Packers were going to win by 20 plus last week.
Yep. Gotta separate the heart and the head, man.
And you know what? I do that. I bet against the Flyers. I bet against the Sixers. I bet against the Phillies. But I'll never bet against the Eagles.
Just not enough NFL games in the season.
Yeah,
You're like, I can't root against them. It's only 1 of 16. All right, so second question. Green Bay is also undefeated against the spread as a favorite this season, as you might expect, given we just talked about. They're 6-0-1 as a favorite. There's one other team besides Green Bay that is undefeated as a favorite this season. Can you name that team?
Could be a team that was a favorite like 1 or 2 games all season.
No, it's 4 games. 4 games they've been a favorite. and they're undefeated against the spread in all 4.
Undefeated as a favorite in 4 games. I am going to guess the Miami Dolphins.
It's not the Dolphins. I don't have their stats in front of me, but I think they've lost at least 2 against the spread as a favorite.
So I'll do one more guess, and then you can tell me. I will as a favorite.
I'll maybe give a little hint. It's a team that their spreads are always kind of low because they're viewed as more of a defensive-minded team. So their spreads haven't been too high one way or another.
Well, the second guess I was leaning towards was going to be Cleveland.
It's not Cleveland.
All right.
Answer is actually Houston Texans.
All right.
They're 4-0 against the spread as a favorite this season. Those 4 games were Washington, Oakland, Buffalo, and Tennessee. So all 4 of those games they were favored, but the highest spread out of all those 4 was only 3.5. So very similar situation this week. They're at home against Cincinnati. They're a favorite, only -2. Another situation where people kind of have been sleeping on the Texans a little bit all season just because their quarterback situation was what it was with Ryan Fitzpatrick not playing well. Ryan Mallett looked pretty good last week. Maybe he's the answer, but
I can't trust him to take him this week.
Yeah,
that will not be one of my plays.
Right, but just something to keep an eye on. So, not too much good luck for you in the questions so far. You got one more. You can it's a 2-parter. You can kind of redeem yourself here. So there's one division in the NFL where every team has a positive point differential. Can you name that division?
AFC South. Am I just thinking of the wrong division?
Positive point differential, every team.
Yeah, the one with isn't the AFC South with Baltimore and Pittsburgh?
That's the North.
That's what I meant. AFC
North. I mean, I might have to ask you some geography questions.
No,
I really want to stump you.
No, seriously, you can't do that because I will come off as the dumbest human being in the world.
All right, the AFC South has teams like Jacksonville down in Florida. They have a negative point differential.
See, Fred, there was one time someone asked me what continent Asia was on, and it took me a couple minutes to think about it.
What continent Asia was on?
Yes.
That's a trick question.
Geography I'm so terrible.
All right, so you got that one. Along those same lines, there's one division where the current division leader actually has a negative point differential. Can you name that division?
I mean, I think I know what team. Is it the Falcons?
It is the Falcons. Do you know what division they're in?
They're in the NFC Midwest.
The Midwest?
Yeah.
That's not a division.
They are in the NFC South.
Yeah, right? They're in the NFC South, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Atlanta -17 actually is a negative point differential. There's only the Saints are the only team with a positive differential, but they're losing the tiebreaker to the Falcons right now.
It's funny they laugh about that, but it's literally something in my brain. I cannot understand geography.
I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to throw some geography questions at you.
If you ever want a good laugh, because I laugh about it, I can understand it. If you ever want a good laugh, ask me some geography questions, and my answers will be gold.
All right, we'll do. So, we learned something today. Not too good at geography. Hopefully your Week 12 plays are a little better than your geography skills. So we'll move right into them. You got a number of plays on the docket for this week. We'll start with the Thursday night game. You like the Raiders +7.5 at home against the Chiefs. Talk to us about that one.
Oh, because I'm sharp. A sharp's got to take the home 7.5 point underdog.
It's the only way.
And
ride or die home dogs.
Exactly. I stick with my home dogs. I do like this because it's one of the few spots where Oakland can really have a chance. Not a great chance, but a chance to get a win this year if they want to avoid 0-16. And Oakland's actually played some really good teams fairly tough. They played Seattle tough. They played New England tough. Kansas City is no better than any of those teams. They're on the road, short week for them, and they could very easily be overlooking the Oakland Raiders, considering it an easy win before they get there. And Oakland actually has a relatively good home field advantage, as bad as they are. I think they get surprised a little bit. I could see this being a game where Oakland's up 10-0 in the first quarter before Kansas City has to wake up. The only question is, once they wake up, can they score 30 straight points, which they might be able to. But I think Oakland hangs around here.
I see where you're coming from with this. like you mentioned, it's a short week. KC coming off a big win against Seattle at home. They're having to travel to Oakland, and it's a quick turnaround. Not exactly the most dominant offense, KC. They're only they like to run the ball a lot.
Exactly. So I'm not scared of like Aaron Rodgers putting up 46 points here.
They're really inclined to run away with things. So getting that extra hook with the 7.5, I feel pretty good about that.
Backdoor's probably going to be wide open too.
Backdoor wide open. The Derek Carr to Rivera
yes!
combination that seems to happen every week in the
fourth quarter.
In the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah. So and like you mentioned, Oakland, they got to pull out a win sometime, you would think, and at home on a Thursday night where games can get a little crazy sometimes as far as the results, so you're not really sure what's going to happen. It's a pretty good spot for that to happen. And I also like the fact that it looks like they're going to give Latavius Murray a little bit of a look at running back this week.
What took them so long?
I don't know, man. When you got a couple dominant 2006 rushers like Darren McFadden and Maurice Jones-Drew, you got to keep riding them.
Yeah, jeez, wow.
So, for all those reasons, I definitely think the getting the points is the right side to be on this week with that. All right, so Oakland plus 7.5, your first play for Week 12. Your second one is your only total that you like this week. No surprise, it's an over, and that's in the Indianapolis-Jacksonville game. You like over 51. So, Dan, we know the Colts can put up some points. You rode with that last week. You feel good enough about Jacksonville being
Yeah, I think if Jacksonville can kick a field goal, this goes over.
Yeah, you like Indy to put up 48 this week.
It would not shock me in the least. Indy's coming off a rough week. Ahmad Bradshaw got hurt. He's not going to be playing. And I really don't think they're going to give Trent Richardson and Dan Herron a lot of carries. This is going to be luck. Throw. Even if they get up big, it's probably going to be more throwing because these aren't running backs who even want to run out the clock with. Jacksonville's secondary is terrible. And you know what? Indianapolis' defense isn't that great.
They're not. They just gave up a lot of points to New England.
And obviously Jacksonville is not New England. But Jacksonville, we talked about those garbage time points when we were talking about Oakland. I could see that being the case too. I could see a little Blake Bortles to Alan Hearns fourth quarter action. I definitely think that Indy is good for 32 points here. And I think that there's a good chance that either they score more and Jacksonville gets their 10-17, or Jacksonville themselves could get 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I definitely think Indy's going to be in the 30s, so I don't think that's a problem. My one concern is will Jacksonville put up enough points. But you're right, they're a bad team, but they're not the bad kind of blah team that doesn't really do much offensively.
They got some guys who can play a little bit.
They air it out, and it's either Bortles gets a lot of long completions, or he throws an interception, which could also help you.
Absolutely,
that could be a pick six. He's had a few of those this season. So, I agree that there's a strong possibility of that happening. My one hesitation is with overs. I like to really feel confident in both offenses. Not really the case for me there, but I see where you're coming from.
I feel confident enough in Jacksonville that they can score garbage time points when Indy gets into the prevent mode.
Gotcha. All right, so that's your second play of the week, over 51, Indy, Jacksonville. Moving on to your third play, you like a favorite here. You like Seattle minus 6.5. They're at home against the NFL's best record-wise Arizona Cardinals. So Drew Stanton going up against the 12th man. You don't trust them?
I said this earlier. I said earlier that if I could have bet against the Eagles last week against my personal code, I would have done it. I kind of feel like this is a similar situation for Arizona. First off, you got a backup quarterback. Second, they're going into a place that's really, really tough to play, and a really, really good defense, and a team that's kind of sort of putting it together a little bit.
Are they, though?
Kinda. They're a lot better than they were a couple weeks ago. They still haven't had that convincing, dominant performance since Week 1 against Green Bay, which now is actually kind of shocking that happened.
Green Bay didn't have their stuff together yet.
No, they did not. But that's just another example of how spots matter. I think this is the game where Drew Stanton throws the ball like Drew Stanton. Drew Stanton threw 2 touchdowns in the first 9 minutes on Sunday, and then the rest of the game they were.
Yeah, he also threw a couple bad picks, and he should have had a third one that they got dropped. That should have been another pick. It wasn't a shining performance from Drew Stanton despite their victory.
I love this play. I think Seattle takes care of business, but more than that, I think Arizona is just going to really lay an egg, which all good teams do.
Yeah, they haven't had their just really bad performance yet, and like we just saw it from Denver last week.
We saw it from Denver
a couple times. We've seen it from New England earlier in the season.
We saw it from
Green Bay.
We saw it from the Eagles last week.
Yeah, like good teams. There's a reason New England going 16-0 that one year was just such an anomaly and an amazing performance, because we have good teams pretty much every year, but it's just so hard to come and bring your best effort each and every week.
So I think you're getting a little value in the line just because Arizona's been so good.
They won loss. Like people see the one loss, they don't want to give up that.
They're 8-1 and they're 6.5-point favorites or underdogs. Excuse me.
Yeah, of course they're going to keep things close. Yeah. So I agree with you here. I think for all the reasons you mentioned, it's a good spot. So Seattle -6.5, your third play for Week 12, and your fourth and final full play for Week 12 is another favorite. You like San Francisco -9 at home against the Redskins. Dan, after seeing that egg they laid against Tampa, I'm done on Washington. I guess you are too.
Yes, and I don't even like San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco's that good of a team. Washington's done. They're done mentally. They don't have that much talent on the field, but the guys on the field aren't getting along. They don't like each other. It looks like one of those disastrous Eagles seasons that they would have, when by the end of the year you could tell they just showed up and wanted to get the game over with. The common denominator and all that is Deshaun Jackson.
You think his clubhouse cancer has affected the Redskins?
Yeah, his the series of events that will lead to him being released from Washington has begun this week.
Okay.
With his Instagram, which is typical of him. However, just in general, it's a road game. RG3 looks horrible. San Francisco their record's pretty good. I don't think they're that good of a team, and I'm excited to bet against them.
It's better than everybody in the NFC South.
Yeah. And this is just, like you said this before I even said a word, I'm done with Washington. I'm ready to fade them out.
Okay. Yeah,
it's a lot of points.
Pretty much covered it, but it's a lot of points. It's kind of a no play for me just because it's two teams I really don't have a lot of confidence in. I have less confidence in Washington, but with that many points, I don't feel comfortable backing San Francisco to win by 10 against anybody at this point.
Right, and I don't love San Fran either, but if Tampa Bay can do what they just did to Washington in Washington, with Washington off of a bye week, then I think that San Fran should be able to win by double digits as well.
You make a compelling argument nonetheless. So that's your fourth and final full play for Week 12, San Francisco -9. Finally, didn't work out for you last week with one of the three-team teasers, but you're going to open up another one, and that's going to be the Eagles. They're at -11. You're going to tease them down to -1 and leave your other legs open. They're at home against Tennessee. Dan, Denver's really good. They can't possibly lose to St. Louis. Eagles are really good. Can they possibly lose to Tennessee?
Dude, Mark Sanchez does not lose 2 games in a row. It just doesn't happen.
It's never happened in an Eagles uniform.
It's never happened in an Eagles uniform. But being serious, yeah, the Denver thing was rough. Philadelphia's home, at least. They've been automatic at home this season. Tennessee's on a short week. They just played Monday night. And, this is such an elementary thing to say, but Philadelphia is just a lot better than Tennessee.
I heard that. I think the stats back that one up, too. They are significantly better on the defensive side of the ball, surprisingly. Which I say surprisingly because going into the season, everybody thought of the Eagles as an offensive team. But actually, top 10 defense as far as DVOA. Tennessee bottom 5 in the league defensively. So
because as someone who watches the Eagles defense, you still know that guys like Aaron Rodgers are going to tear them up. But guys like Zach Mettenberger, they're going to get a couple interceptions.
Right? Yeah, because it's all about the pass rush with the Eagles and quarterbacks that aren't experienced enough to know how to evade that pressure and go away from it as far as their hot routes or their audibles or what have you. They're really going to struggle. It's the guys like Rodgers who can pinpoint where the attack is coming from the defense and go in the opposite direction and look, there's Jordy Nelson with one-on-one coverage against a terrible cornerback. Let me go to him. Exactly. They're the guys that are going to beat the Eagles defense, not Zach Mettenberger.
So, yeah, it's hard to talk really about the 10-point teaser games because when you're taking 10 points off the spread, it's quite obvious why I like the side.
Right.
But yeah,
They're 11-point favorites for a reason.
I like the Eagles. I like them to get a win at home against the team coming off a loss.
All right, so Eagles -1, teased down as part of an open 3-team teaser as your 5th and final play for Week 12. Hey Dan, if you win all 5, you're almost back to 500 on the season. So
when I win all 5.
So when you win all 5, we can talk about that next week. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we hope you tune in next week, coming off a 5-0 week.
And with some awesome questions like the one we had today.
Truth. Take it easy, guys.